What is going on, college basketball fans? Welcome back to another video, and it is officially opening day of college basketball. We are fully back, and what a better way to start it off with a Bracketology predictions where we take Joe Lunardi's most recent Bracketology, in this case his preseason one, his last preseason Bracketology that came out on October 28th, and we take it and copy it, put it into our own PDF, and fill it out from the first round all the way to the national championship. And with this bracket, the final four that I do have in this bracket will be my official preseason final four picks. Now, this bracket is obviously going to look completely different whenever we do eventually get to March Madness. We have a long season ahead of us, and I will be watching all of these teams and trying to watch as many Division I teams as I possibly can this season and as many times as I possibly can. Cannot wait for the season, so it's going to look completely different, but the teams that I do have making it to the Final Four, I do believe have that potential and are going to be my preseason picks. So, without further ado, subscribe if you guys are new. We are going to have a ton of college basketball content here on the channel. And if you guys are watching this when it comes out here on Monday, make sure you guys tune in for Monday night. We are going to be watching some of the games that night on stream together, so come tune in, talk some ball, and watch some college basketball here Monday night. So, without further ado, let's get it started. So, our top overall seed, he does have the Houston Cougars going up against the Montana Grizzlies, and we're, of course, going to go with Houston. I mean, Kelvin Sampson, one of the best head coaches in the country. They are always a consistent top defense in the country. They made it all the way to the national championship game last season. They have returning point guard in Milos Uzan. They got returning one of the top defenders in the country, especially around the rim, and Joseph Tugler. They got Emmanuel Sharp returning. They got 2 5-star freshmen coming in. They are going to be loaded once again, and they are definitely going to get by the Grizzlies there. Missouri versus USC. This is actually an interesting matchup here because I do like what Missouri is returning to build off what they had last year. At points last season, they looked pretty elite, and I do like Dennis Gates as a head coach. Although, I do think this is the year Eric Musselman finally gets things going a little bit and does get USC to March Madness tournament for the first time since he left Arkansas for the Trojans, and I like a lot of the recruits that they have coming in. Elijah Arenas is going to be an exciting one. They also got some vets coming in, some college vets that who knows how they got a year of eligibility, specifically Chad Baker Mazzara. So I'm going to go with USC here. I like that combination of what they got going on there, and Eric Musselman gets a win in March Madness for USC. Next up, we do have Gonzaga versus Akron. Now, I'm not too high on Gonzaga, but Tyon Grant Foster, another one of those guys who got granted another year of eligibility. Still in college, but he was denied at first, but he got granted. He will be playing for Gonzaga this year. That is huge because I really like Gonzaga's front court again, but I'm not super high on their guards. I thought their guards were not the best last year outside of Ryan Nembhard. Now they don't have Ryan Nembhard, and that is a big loss. I mean, did he average double-digit assists last year? If not, it was very close. He was a beast for them, and to not have that, I really like Akron. I think Akron's going to be one of the better mid-majors of this season. And I like the matchup here for a 12 over a 5 here in our first region. Give me the Akron Zips, who I think are going to be either the best or the second best team in the MAC. Between them and Miami of Ohio, I think they're both going to be really fun to watch this year. Give me Akron. They got a lot of returning players from last year. Was really good last year. Give me Akron. Next up, we got Alabama versus Utah Valley. I do think Utah Valley could sneak into the tournament by winning their conference over Grand Canyon this year. It is very possible. I could see that happening, but no chance am I picking them over Alabama. Alabama has a lot of really good guards. I don't think losing Mark Sears is going to be as big of a loss as a lot of people are thinking. I'm starting to think that Aiden Holloway, Charles Wright, and these boys are really going to just go off this year for Alabama. I think they got a group of guards that are all going to play at a pretty high level, and I think this Alabama offense is going to be just as good without Mark Sears. I think a big loss is going to be Grant Nelson, but I do think Alabama is going to be very, very good this season. Next, we have North Carolina versus VCU. VCU, I still think, does have potential to win the A-10, even though they are losing Coach Ryan Odom to Virginia and pretty much have a completely different team from last year's team that was so good. I still think that they could win the A-10. They have a lot of good players, still have a really good head coach coming in. North Carolina, I don't know if I trust them completely. I don't know if they're going to be a 6 seed. That seems a little bit high for me. I think whoever comes out of the A-10 is going to give the Tar Heels a run for their money if that were to be the matchup. I don't really like VCU out of the A-10 this year, though. I'm going to go with North Carolina here. Give me UNC. This is actually going to be the first time, I think, since 2020 that without RJ Davis, without Caleb Love, without Armando Bacot. Armando Bacot's been gone. Caleb Love has obviously went and played at Arizona, but he's no longer there. But RJ Davis has stayed up until last year. We're finally going to get without RJ Davis. All those guys are finally out, and we're on to the next group of guys. So I'm excited to watch this North Carolina team play, see how they perform. We'll see. Maybe they will surprise me this year, but I will have them over VCU. Tennessee versus James Madison. Not so sure what we're going to get out of this James Madison team this year, but I am going to trust Tennessee. Tennessee is becoming more and more trustworthy in the tournament, and I think they are being a little bit underrated this year. I think the transfer they got in Jacoby Gillespie is going to be a star in the SEC. They've had stars out of the transfer portal the past 2 years from mid-majors. Jacoby Gillespie is coming from Maryland, and I think he is going to average close to 20 this year and probably 5 or 6 assists as well. He is going to be a beast for Tennessee, and then they got 5-star Nate Ammett along with a lot of other great pieces. I think Tennessee is going to be just fine. I'll definitely take them over James Madison. Next up, Creighton versus Mississippi State. I really like Mississippi State. You guys know that. I can't pick them here as much as I really like to watch Josh Hubbard play. I think that they are going to be in this game, going to be competitive. I cannot go against Coach McDermott in this one. He is so good in March Madness. He is such a good coach, and I think they have an underrated team. I have to take the Blue Jays here in this first round over Mississippi State just because Mississippi State hasn't shown me that they can win in the first round yet. I do think this could be the year. It has to be the right matchup. I'm hoping that they can get a better seed this year, at least a 7 or higher, and I think that they will for sure get a first-round win. But if they have to play Creighton first round, I don't like that matchup at all for Mississippi State. Next up, we got Michigan versus Youngstown State. I would love to see Youngstown State, see the Penguins make the tournament this year. But I, of course, am going to go with Michigan. I think Yaxel Lindenberg is going to be one of the best players in the country, and especially Michigan. I mean, I can only imagine between what Danny Wolf was doing last year, he's going to be inserted in that role. He's a good playmaker as well as a big man, and he's a better scorer and defender than Danny Wolf, so I'm very excited to see what he can do here. I think he is going to put up some big-time numbers, and Michigan's going to win a lot of games. I also like Elliot Cadeau, the pickup there. I think he is an underrated point guard. I think UNC fans didn't like him. They didn't like Elliot Cadeau. I think they were underappreciating him, and I think a lot of that is just they're more so mad he left than mad at how he performed for them, in my opinion, because I think Cadeau is a really good guard. Next up, we got Duke versus either Navy or Southern. I'll go with Southern to win this one, just because Navy coming out of the Patriot League here. I really don't think anyone out of the Patriot that league was so bad last year. I hope it becomes a really good mid-major league this year out of nowhere, and they have like 2 or 3 decent teams. That would be pretty cool, but I don't trust them. I would go Southern over Navy, and then we'll go Southern over Duke. Just kidding. Of course, we got Duke. I mean, the Boozer has looked like a beast through this preseason. I mean, his brother has been pretty good. Their whole team, they got a lot of really good pieces on this team. And, yeah, Duke is going to be like that once again this year. We're going to be one of the best offenses in college basketball. Next up, we got Texas versus Cincinnati. This is going to be a really interesting matchup considering Sean Miller is now the head coach of Texas. He knows Cincinnati very well as he's been a long time, well, kind of 2 separate stints at Xavier, so he's played Cincinnati quite a few times in his day, and I think he knows them, and I don't know if I necessarily trust Cincinnati to even make the tournament, let alone get a W. I don't trust Wes Miller as a coach at all. Give me Texas here. I do like the piece they got in the transfer portal. They should be in position to make the tournament. We'll see if they are, but I will take Texas over Cincinnati. Not in love with either of those teams, but if that were to be the matchup, I would probably go with Texas. Next up, we got Iowa State versus Liberty. Liberty is a sneaky team. I know a lot of people are not going to want to take them, even though I do believe they will win Conference USA this year and make it to the tournament again. They have such a solid team. They are going to be a very good mid-major, but the reason they're going to be a sleeper is because last year they made the tournament. A lot of people took them over Oregon, and they did not show up at all. I do think maybe Iowa State could be a better matchup for them right now for this season. I am not going to take them because I do think Iowa State, they have a lot of veterans. I think Josh Jefferson is going to be a beast this year. Tamin Lipsey, if he can up his scoring a little bit, he's going to be looked at as one of the better point guards in college basketball. And Momcilovic, if he's knocking down threes, they could be a sneaky team that could make a little bit of a run this year as Iowa State. So especially if their defense is as good as it normally is, I'm definitely not going to take Liberty there. But there are certain teams, certain matchups that I would actually take Liberty against this year to get a win in March Madness. I do think they could be a sleeper this year just because nobody's going to want to take them again, and I do believe they will make it to March Madness again. Illinois versus High Point. I'm going to go with Illinois. I really like this Illini team. It feels like I think Illinois is going to be a sleeper. They're going to be in and out of the top 10 this year, most of the regular season. I love the pickup of Stojakovic. I think Kai Boswell is going to be a huge piece to this team. They got Tom Izlov down low. They have studs, man. And they brought in Tom Izlov's brother from Arkansas. I think Illinois is a big-time sleeper this year to maybe make a pretty deep run. I could see them maybe in the Elite Eight. Yeah, it's really going to depend on matchups for real as far as how far I think Illinois can go, but I do think they are going to be in and out of the top 10 most of this regular season. I'm pretty high on the Illini. Then we got Oregon versus either Boise or Villanova. Villanova, first year under new head coach Kevin Willard. I'm interested to see how that goes. Boise just seems to not be able to get it done in March Madness. I'm going to go with Villanova here in the first four game, but either way, I would go with Oregon over either of those teams. I think Oregon is going to be a very solid team this year, and especially in March Madness. Jackson Shellstad is a name you should know heading into this season, and a name you should definitely know heading into March Madness. He has the potential, hit some big-time crazy threes, the March Madness magic type stuff. He's got that in him. So if you're looking for a guard that could do something like that and to go on a little bit of a run, Jackson Shellstad in Oregon is a good pick for that. Also, Nate Biddle down low. Very solid center. They picked up some pieces around the portal as well to plug around there. Oregon's going to be a very good team. BYU versus St. Thomas. St. Thomas eligible for the tournament this year. Last year they actually won their conference, but they did not get a bid because it's 3 or 4 years that you have to be a member of Division I college basketball before you are eligible to make the NCAA tournament. One of the stupidest rules in college basketball, but no longer the case, as St. Thomas can now make the tournament. So I really hope that they do. I really liked the Tommies last year. I liked watching them. I wish that they would have gotten that chance, but I think that they will get there. One day they will. Maybe it's this year, but either way, they get the opportunity here to go against BYU, AJ Dibanso, Richie Saunders, Kebakita, all these boys, Rob Wright. Stacked BYU team, absolutely stacked. Yeah, congratulations, Tommies. But we are taking BYU. Next up, we got San Diego State versus Iowa. Very defensive matchup here. Two teams projected to be a very good defense this year because of their coaches. Specifically, it's going to be interesting to see a more defensive team out of Iowa. I'm excited for that. New head coach from Drake also brought in Bennett Sturts there as well to play point guard. Very excited to see what this Iowa team can do. I do expect them to make the tournament. Ben McCollum is such a good coach. Won Division II national championships before he went to Drake. Drake won first round last year, so very, very exciting hire there for Iowa. But I am going to go with San Diego State here. I'm going to trust them here. They got a lot of returning talent. Miles Bird, Magoon Guath, super solid. BJ Davis. Super excited to watch this Aztec team play this year. They move on to the next round. Then we got Kentucky versus Arkansas Little Rock. And we are going to go with Kentucky. Is that the first time Little Rock would see the tournament since they went on a run when Chris Beard was their head coach? Might be. Next up, we got Purdue versus either Norfolk State or Long Island. I will go with Norfolk State over Long Island in the first 4. And then, of course, we are going to go with Purdue over Norfolk State there in the first round. Purdue's super good, one of the best returning rosters in college basketball, one of the top national championship contenders this year in college basketball, and the number 1 preseason AP poll team. I think they are. This has to be the year for Purdue. If they don't win it this year, I don't know if they'll ever get it done. This has to be the year. No pressure. Baylor versus Ole Miss, 8 versus 9. Baylor's been on that 8-9 lineup the past 2 years. I believe they won both of the last 2 years in the first round on that line. I think they could do it again. Chris Beard versus Scott Drew would be an excellent coaching matchup. I'm going to go with Ole Miss here. Mainly because Baylor is kind of getting a whole new team. I don't really know what to expect from them. I expect them to still be a very solid team, as I always expect from Scott Drew and this Baylor Bears team. But we'll just have to see. It's the preseason. I want to watch all these teams play. My mind is going to change a lot, but for now I'll go with Ole Miss because at least they got Malik Dia coming back. Some guys that I know are going to be good. And I will trust Ole Miss here. They were able to make a run last year to the Sweet 16. I'll trust them here in the first round. Next up, we got Arkansas versus Northern Iowa. And I am going to go with Arkansas. Arkansas had a nice little run there. I'm super excited to watch their freshmen come in here. Freshman and Darius Cuff Jr. to come in here. I think he's going to be a huge piece. They have a lot of good pieces around him. I like Arkansas here. Definitely get out of the first round. Then we got Arizona versus UC Irvine. Arizona's an interesting team. No more Caleb Love. They are returning Jaden Bradley, and they got a few pretty high recruits coming in here as well. I'd like to see them make a run. UC Irvine, I do expect them to, again, be a very good mid-major team, especially competing there in the Big West Conference. I like this upset here, 13-4. It's probably my favorite big upset that I could have in the preseason. I do trust UC Irvine to be a solid team, and I don't necessarily trust Arizona much, but it is the preseason. A lot will change, but for now I'm going to take the Anteaters to move on to the second round. Then we got Kansas versus either Marquette or Washington. I'm actually going to go with Washington over Marquette here in this matchup, and then I'm actually going to go... I do like this Kansas team with Darren Peterson, Marco Jackson, Flory Badunga, some young players, no more big names out of the transfer portal on this Kansas team. But I like the upset here of Washington, and I'm going to go for it. Washington Huskies over Kansas. They have a very good, quietly good roster heading into this season. So how about Washington pulling off the upset here? I would love to see that happen. Quinn Peterson, a name to look out for their point guard for Washington. Next up, we got Louisville versus UNC Wilmington. I'm going to go with Louisville here. After a couple of upsets in this region, I'd trust Louisville there. They have a lot of really good guards. Going to be one of the best backcourts in the country. Wisconsin versus St. Mary's. I am going to go with St. Mary's. Coach Randy Bennett always has a very solid team. Wisconsin should be pretty good. I'm actually a big fan of John Blackwell. I think he's going to have a big-time breakout season. Nick Boyd could be a sleeper as well to be a pretty solid player. I think Wisconsin will be pretty good, a sleeper for sure, to make the tournament. But I'm going to go with St. Mary's there. And then we're going to go with St. John's over the Siena Saints. And we will have the Battle of the Saints here. St. John's versus St. Mary's in the second round. Next up, we got Florida versus Vermont. Catamounts always finding a way to make it into the tournament. Most seasons, it seems like, but the defending national champs reloaded their backcourt, bringing back the front court of Alex Condon and Thomas Hall. Solid team. Got to go with Florida over the Catamounts. Next up, we got NC State versus Vanderbilt. Two really good head coaches, in my opinion. Will Wade is such a good head coach. Led McNeese to a win last year in the tournament. Now with the Wolfpack, and Vanderbilt with Mark Byington made it to the tournament last year as his first year as the head coach of Vandy. Previously was at James Madison, where he got a solid win as well. So I really like these head coaches. I think it's going to be a very good 8-9 matchup. I could see it going either way, but I'm going to go with Will Wade and this NC State team, who had a really good transfer portal, and he built this team ready to make it to the tournament and try to do some damage in year one. We'll see if he can get it done there with the Wolfpack. Next up, we got Michigan State versus Yale. I'm going to go with Michigan State here. I am really expecting Cohen Carr and Jeremy Fears to have big-time breakout seasons. They have to be the stars of the Sparty team this season, and I think they will be. If that's the case, I have no problem taking them over Yale. I think that they would get it done. Tom Izzo, just in March, he doesn't get upset usually. If he's supposed to win, if they're the higher seed, they get it done. I'm going to trust them here. History shows. Texas Tech versus McNeese. I do think McNeese could still make it out of the Southland Conference, even without Will Wade and with a new team, just because that's not a very good conference. It's usually between them and Texas A&M Corpus Christi, but I could still see them getting in. Are they going to be a 13 seed? Probably lower, but I'm for sure taking Texas Tech here in this matchup. Texas Tech, I think, is a real threat to go on a deep run. Next up, we got Auburn versus Memphis. I'm not a big fan of Memphis this season. I don't think they're going to be that great. Could they make the tournament by winning the American? For sure. But I'm looking at UAB as my preseason favorite to win the American this year. So I'm going to go with Auburn for sure. Even if if this were to be the matchup, I would probably go with Auburn. I do think if it were UAB, if it were another team out of North Texas, FAU, Tulane, I want to see somebody else out of the American make it this year. I think we will. It could actually make it for a more interesting matchup there against Auburn, in my opinion. Next up, we got UCLA versus Furman. Thought about an upset here as the biggest of the video, which would be a 14 over a 3. But I really do like Donovan Dent. I want to see him go on at least a little bit of a run and get a win here in March Madness with the Bruins. So give me UCLA there. Next up, our 7 versus 10 in this region. We got Ohio State versus Virginia. And I'm definitely going to go with Virginia here. I do think Ohio State could be better than people anticipated. People are saying it's a make or break year for Jake Diebler. We're going to see about that. I thought he's done a pretty decent job, but he definitely has to get to the tournament this year. We'll see if he can live up to the expectations, which right now are looking like around a 7 seed, and then we'll see if he can get it done here, get a win or two in March Madness. But I like Virginia. I'm a big fan of Ryan Odom. I think he's an awesome head coach. He put together quietly a really good transfer portal. They're picking up players to go to Virginia, so I'm excited to see what Malik Thomas got here at Virginia back into to a Power 5 team. It's going to be very interesting, so I'm going to go with Virginia to get it done. Next up, we got UConn versus Florida Gulf Coast, and I am for sure going to go with the UConn Huskies. I think they are a real threat to win the national championship this year for the third time in the 4 seasons. I think it is possible for sure look out for the Huskies. Now our second round matchups, we got Houston versus USC. Look out for a possible upset here. I think it's going to be closer than people would think, but I'm still going to go with Houston here. Eric Musselman has done this before at Arkansas and knocked off a 1 seed Kansas in the second round before. He's gotten his teams to go on a little bit of a run. I could see something like that happening here, but I really do trust Kelvin Sampson. I think he's one of the best head coaches in college basketball. I'd love to see him win a championship before he retires because I know he's retiring soon, and it's already lined up for his son to take over. So I would love to see it. I'm not sure if this is the year. I think that I still think they are going to win the Big 12 and probably be a 1 seed. Are they going to win the championship? We'll see. We have to watch them play first, see how these freshmen play. They're going to be a big piece, and whether I think they can go all the way or not. But I do think that they would get by USC there, but closer than people think. Akron versus Alabama. This is where the Zips run is going to come to an end. I'm actually getting higher and higher on this Alabama team this year. I think Nate Oates is going to be a threat to make the Final Four for the second time with Alabama this year. North Carolina versus Tennessee. I'm definitely going to go with Tennessee here. I thought about it for a second, and yeah, Tennessee, they, like I said earlier, they are more and more trustworthy in the tournament now. I would definitely trust them over UNC. If North Carolina is a second-round exit this year, what is their expectations? Is Hubert Davis on the hot seat? Let me know down below in the comments section. Would that be a disappointing season this year if you are a Tar Heel fan? Next up, we got Creighton versus Michigan. I think this is actually a possible upset. As far as all the possible upsets in the second round of this region, I think Creighton, 7 seed over 2 seed Michigan, would probably be the most likely one, and it could definitely be possible. McDermott is just such a good coach, but I think that Dusty May is also a really good coach, and I'm going to go with Michigan here to get it done. Let's go ahead and finish out this region. Houston, Alabama, big time shocker here. I'm going to take the Crimson Tide, 4 seed, to upset 1-seeded Houston in the Sweet 16. Down goes Houston. Here's my concern about Houston. This is a very offense versus defense type of matchup because Alabama is going to be one of the best offenses in college basketball once again. They were going to be a threat to put up 100 points on any given night. Houston is, obviously a very defensive team. Without LJ Cryer this year, he was a big spark to that offense. He was able to put up around 15 to 20 points a game, hit some big-time threes. I don't know where they're going to get that from this year. And if they are relying on Emmanuel Sharp, I don't know if I trust them in a big game like this against Alabama because I think Alabama is a threat to get to the Final Four as well, and that is where things could slip up for them. When they need the big-time shot, who's going to hit it? I think a lot of it is going to rely actually on the freshman Kingston Flemings, 4-star point guard, close to a 5-star. I think top 25 recruit this year. If he can be a big-time shot maker and shot creator, he might need to fill that role that LJ Cryer did. I'm not sure if he's going to be ready for it, but we will find out. If he is this season, that is going to be a big X factor for me as far as how far I think Houston is going to go this season. But maybe their defense is just so good, they turn it into a defensive matchup with Alabama. They can still definitely win that game either way. But I'm going to go with Alabama here and make things a little interesting because I think that they could do it. Next up, we got Tennessee versus Michigan. This would be an all-timer here in the Sweet 16. Very, very close game. I could see it going either way. I'm going to go with the 2-seeded Michigan team here. Dusty May to get to the Elite 8 with Yaxel Lindenberg, with Elliot Cadeau, bringing back Namari Burnett. Some of these guys, some of the good shooters. I think Michigan's going to be very solid this year, and they played really good last season under Dusty May in close games. They had a very good record in points within 5 points. So I think this is going to be a close game, and I think good coaching of Dusty May, they're going to get it done. They get to the Elite 8. We got our 4 seed versus 2 seed in our Elite 8. another great matchup. I could see Michigan's front court giving some problems to Alabama here. But I love these Alabama guards. I think they're going to play fantastic in the tournament, put up a lot of points. I'm going to go with Bama to get back to the Final Four here. Nate Oates' second Final Four in 3 seasons here with the Tide. Next up, let's go ahead over to this region, this top right region here for our second round. Finish up the top half. We got Purdue versus Ole Miss. It could be a sneaky game. Ole Miss could be competitive in this game. I think they are relying on some guys like A.J. Storr, some of these other guards. They're going to need to step up because Sean Padula is not there anymore. So they are going to need that. I trust Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, these guards. But really, the Purdue front court is going to be a problem for anybody. I mean, between TKR, Oscar Clough, Daniel Jacobson, that is a massive front court that is going to give any team problems. I think the best front court in basketball, Purdue for sure. And I am actually going to pull an upset off here again. UC Irvine going to go on a little bit of a Cinderella run over Arkansas after beating Arizona. I mean, that would be 2 massive wins if UC Irvine can get it done. I do think we will get some sort of Cinderella this year. I'm not going to predict one all the way to the Final Four or anything during the preseason, but as we get further and further into the season, we're going to come out with these every 1 or 2 weeks. So if you made it this far into the video, you obviously enjoy it. Hit that subscribe button if you guys haven't already, because we are going to be making these predictions weekly or probably bi-weekly at first, but further into the season, every single week, we are going to be coming out with our bracket predictions, just like this. So as we get further, I will have Cinderella runs if I really like a mid-major, think that they can get it done. This could be the year. With 4 1 seeds making it to the Final Four last year, we have to have something crazy happen as far as upsets. So for now, I'll take UC Irvine to the Sweet 16, but that is where it is going to end, as I will have Purdue knock them off in the Sweet 16 to make it to the Elite 8. Then Washington versus Louisville. I think this would actually be a very close game. I am pretty high on Washington. I do think they will probably sneak in around an 11 seed, maybe a 10, 8, 9, somewhere in there, but I do think they will make the tournament this year. But I think Louisville, they're ready now. They have one of the best backcourts in college basketball, as I mentioned before. They're another team that's going to be able to put up a lot of points. I think that is going to be very, very important come tournament time. And I know sometimes, even when you have the best shooters and the best backcourts, sometimes the lid's just on the basket, and you're going to need to rely on defense. And that's why you should probably rely more so on defense. But teams get hot. I'm going to trust Louisville to get hot, stay hot here in the first weekend, make it to the second weekend of March Madness here in the Sweet 16. Then we got St. Mary's versus St. John's. Mary versus John. Who would win? Very defensive matchup. I mean, I think St. John's probably going to be defensive once again this season. We will see, but hopefully they can have better three-point shooting. If they do, I do expect St. John's to make it to the Sweet 16 this year. I think Ian Jackson is going to be a breakout star for them this season, so I'll take St. John's there. Interesting matchup here because I think Louisville has the better backcourt. And a lot of this is going to depend on how good Michael Brown Jr. is in his freshman season as the point guard for Louisville. But they have Isaac McNeely, Ryan Conwell, lots of really good guards. But St. John's, Bryce Hopkins, Zuby Ejiofor, I mean, just great front court there. I got to go with the Johnnies here to get it done and make it to the Elite 8. Rick Pitino getting it done to the Elite 8 here and going up against Purdue. And as I just mentioned, that Johnny's front court with Zuby Ejiofor and Bryce Hopkins, are they going to be able to match up with Trey Kaufman-Wren and Daniel Jacobson, Oscar Clough? I mean, that is a beast of a front court. I think the best in college basketball, with the only rival that could take it over is probably Florida. I like Purdue here to get it done and get back to the Sweet 16 just 2 years after making it to the national championship game. I just think they are too good. This has to be the year for them. They got Braden Smith, who's going to be averaging close to 10 assists per game, who can also shoot the ball lights out, probably going to be averaging close to 20 points per game as well. He is a fantastic player, and I think he is my favorite to win National Player of the Year for sure this season. I think he is my preseason best player in college basketball, so we will see. And he's also got a very good team around him. Let's go to this bottom left region where we got Duke versus Texas. I'm definitely going to take Duke there. I'm not real high on Texas. I'm just not real high on Cincinnati either. Then we got Iowa State versus Illinois, which I do think would be a very fun matchup. You got two coaches that would really want to make a deep run here, and neither one of them want to go home in the second round. I think Illinois has been, more consistently making it to the Sweet 16, made it to one Elite 8, where Iowa State's kind of been trying to get there, had the potential to get there, had the teams to get there, just have been falling short. Illinois has at least been making it to Sweet 16s, and I do think they actually have the better team this year than Iowa State, which in past years I'd actually say Iowa State would have the better team than Illinois, but I think Illinois does this year. I think they got the team. They're going to make it to the Sweet 16 here. Oregon versus BYU. This matchup here is huge. I mean, I really wanted to take both of these teams far, to be honest, and it sucks that I can't take them both far. I really want to go with BYU here, and even though I love Jackson Shelstad, I think BYU has such a good team. I have to go with the Cougars here. It's not even mainly because of AJ Dibansa, but the backcourt of Rob Wright and Richie Sanders is a problem. They have an anchor on defense. Really good offense last year, and they only have more talent. So I think BYU is going to be an absolute problem this year. San Diego State versus Kentucky. I got to go with Kentucky. I mean, it's kind of more of a chalk region down here, but I think the best teams are, this is a pretty stacked region. I mean, I think all these teams are just great teams. And it would be a great Sweet 16 if this were the Final Four in this region. Duke versus Illinois. I do think Illinois has a team that could possibly get this done, but there's no way I trust them against Duke. We've seen this before. I mean, last year in the regular season, I mean, they do have, new rosters, some returning pieces on each team, but there's no way. I meant to put Duke. I did not mean to advance Illinois there. But there's no way Illinois, just when they get to those top tier teams to face, when it really gets down to it, to make it to the Final Four and make a push for a championship, they seem to fall short. And if they have to see, I think they could get to the Final Four, but not if they have to run into a team like Duke. I just don't see it happening, so give me Duke there. Then we got BYU versus Kentucky. What a storyline this would be. Mark Pope against his former team in BYU, and now they have Kevin Young. They have the top recruit in the country. They have one of the top transfers in the country. They have returning stars. I mean, this would be absolute cinema. Honestly, I mean, this would be how a March Madness would play out if we got to see these two teams face off in the Sweet 16. And if it came down to it, even though I like Kentucky, I like Ortega-Owe, I like the pickups they got in Jaden Quaidens, Jalen Lowe. We're going to see how their shooting goes. I mean, I expect a Mark Pope team to have a really good offense, and they should actually be a very good defensive team this year. I mean, with Jaden Quaidens as the anchor, Ortega-Owe was a great defender for Kentucky last year. But I'm going to trust BYU here to get it done. I think BYU is such a good team. I'm going to expect them to get it done here, and the 3 seed gets by the 2 here to make it to the Elite 8 to go up against Duke. And between BYU and Duke, this is a tough one here. I think Duke would probably get it done. I mean, Cam Boozer has looked really good in these scrimmages in the preseason. He's looked really good, and that was kind of, worried because I don't think they have as stacked as a team as they did last year. But with Cam Boozer being really good, and honestly, I'm not going to say he's as good as Cooper Flagg because Cooper Flagg was National Player of the Year last year, was one of the best freshman seasons we've ever seen. So I'm not going to go out there and say he's as good, but he's going to be very, very good. And they do have a pretty solid team around him. But I am actually going to go with BYU to make it to the Final Four. This is going to be my preseason Final Four. I'm locking it in. BYU, Purdue, and Alabama so far. And our last region is up. We do have Florida versus NC State, where it's going to be less chalky because I am going to take the Wolfpack to get it done over the defending national champions, Florida, in the second round. Florida fans are not going to be happy with that because they did reload with their guards between Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland, which are fantastic pickups. I do think there is a possibility Florida can repeat this year, but I don't necessarily expect it. I believe every team except UConn, when they went back-to-back, has lost in the second round at the year after they won the championship for like the past, I think, 8 seasons or so, other than that one outlier. And I could see it happening again, especially if this were to be the matchup, because NC State has a lot of veterans on this team, and I do think Will Wade is a good enough head coach where they can get something like this done. So I could see it happening. Give me the Wolfpack here to pull off quite the upset. Then we got Michigan State versus Texas Tech. And I'm going to go with Texas Tech here. I mean, I do trust Tom Izzo in March Madness, but I think that Texas Tech have more established players than Michigan State. And mainly that comes from JT Toppin. I think Christian Anderson is kind of the breakout player we expect from Texas Tech, but I think we need Jeremy Fears and Cohen Carr to really get it done there for Michigan State. So they need to step up as the stars, and I could see Michigan State going on a run for sure. But I'm going to go with Texas Tech here in this matchup. Then we got Auburn versus UCLA. Fun matchup here. I'm going to go with the Bruins to get it done in this one. Really like Donovan Dent. I'm going to see how Xavier Booker does. Former 5-star recruit that went to Michigan a few seasons ago. Didn't play the best when he did get minutes. Did he just need a change of scenery? If that was the case and he's playing like the player he was expected to be out of high school, UCLA is going to be a very dangerous team, and even without him, they got Eric Daly. They got other bigs. They're going to be just fine. I think UCLA can get by this Auburn team. Auburn, I really like Tahad Pettiford. I really like they got the 2 Keyshawn's on their team through the transfer portal. Going to be very solid. I think losing Bruce Pearl, maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but I don't know if I trust Stephen Pearl, his son, right away, first-year head coach, to be just as good and keep that Auburn program where it's at, but we will find that out soon. I'm going to trust UCLA here for now. And then we got Virginia versus UConn, where I am going to have UConn win it. I do think Virginia has a very solid team for the first year under Ryan Odom, and they got enough really good transfers. Not enough to compete with UConn, though, in my opinion. NC State versus Texas Tech. This would be a great matchup in the Sweet 16, and this would be a fight. And I'm going to keep rolling with the Wolfpack here as an 8 seed to be kind of my Cinderella right now, and make it to the Elite Eight as an 8 seed over 1-seeded Florida and over 4-seeded Texas Tech. I could really see that happening with this path. Like, if they were able to get by Florida, I definitely could see them getting by Texas Tech in the next round. So I'm going to take NC State to go all the way to the Elite Eight as my sleeper. Great vets on this team. Darian Williams going to be a fantastic player. And that's a revenge game. for Darian Williams against his former team in Texas Tech. You can call it a revenge game, even though it's not like they cut him or traded him or anything. It was his decision to go after whatever it was. If he wanted more money or a bigger role, to be the star forward of the team instead of JT Toppin, whatever it may be. But still, his former team try to go out there, have a big game. He had some big performances in March Madness last year for the Red Raiders, so big performance against them this time to make the Elite Eight. UCLA versus UConn. Didn't get to talk about them that much so far this video, but I love this UConn team just because I have them going Florida Gulf Coast. Virginia seems like they should be able to get to this position fairly easily with this path. Solo Ball, I think, is going to be one of the better guards in college basketball. They also picked up Silas DeMary, the transfer from Georgia, who was awesome last year for them. Bringing back Alex Caravan for his fourth and final season, trying to win 3 championships in his 4 years on this UConn team. Just crazy. I think we will see a better Alex Caravan. The old Calix, last year he wasn't as good last year as far as hitting the big shots when they need him to. I love this UConn team. I think that they can go very, very far, and I'm going to have them beat UCLA, and I'm going to also have them knock off NC State and kill that run and make it to the Final Four. And yes, guys, this is my official preseason Final Four predictions. We got the Alabama Crimson Tide under Coach Nato. It's making their second Final Four in 2 seasons. We got BYU, I believe, making their first ever Final Four if that were to happen this year. We got UConn making it back to the Final Four after going out in the second round to the national champions Florida last season. And we got Purdue making it back to the Final Four after losing in the Sweet 16 to Houston last year, but the year before that, losing in the national championship to the team they will go against in the Final Four, UConn. So good storyline there. I like it. Alabama versus BYU, 2 teams that I expect to have some of the best offenses in college basketball this year, going up against each other. Should be a ton of points, a lot of fun, and that one could go either way in my opinion. I'm going to pick one of these teams, but it could go either way. Versus Purdue. And then on the other side, you got Purdue going against UConn, who just beat them in the national championship 2 seasons ago. And now I believe Purdue might actually have the better roster. So interesting stuff here. Can Matt Painter get it done against Dan Hurley this time? But first, let's go over these 2 offenses. A lot of really good guards on this team, on these teams. I actually think BYU actually might have the better roster. I think coaching-wise, I might go with Alabama just because they've been here before. I'm going to go with Alabama to actually make it to the national championship. Not in football, but in basketball, knocking off BYU. I think for some reason it's more of a gut feeling because I think the backcourts kind of balance themselves out for me. For the front courts, I would actually probably give it to BYU, but something's telling me Alabama would win this matchup. I think it would be a shootout. It would be a ton of fun. It would be a close game, 50-50. But give me Bama to move on to the championship. Then we got Purdue versus UConn in our second Final Four matchup. Can Matt Painter get it done against Dan Hurley this time? I'm not going to drag it along. I'm going to say he does get it done. Give me Purdue. And I know a lot of people aren't going to love that pick because they don't really trust Purdue in March Madness. They've had a lot of, not so great moments in March Madness where they lost to a 16 seed in FDU. They lost to North Texas, who was a 13 over a 4, I believe. They lost to St. Peter's when they finally made it to the Sweet 16. And they had Jaden Ivey, and they had a lot of disappointing losses. But the past 2 seasons, 2 years ago, they made it to the national championship, which is where I have them now. And last season, they lost to Houston in a 2-point game that was very close and could have went either way. And Houston went on to the national championship game and almost won it all. So I'm liking Purdue. I think they have, in my opinion, the best roster this year. And I think they have the best chance to win the championship this year. And I think that we are just a few years delayed from them, where it was similar to Virginia, where they lost to the 16 seed in the first round as a 1. First time it ever happened, and next year they win the national championship. We thought that could have happened the next year after they lost to FDU, but I think it's going to be a little bit more delayed here. They're finally going to get it. Still a few people on that roster that lost to FDU, including Braden Smith, who I think is the best player in college basketball as well. Purdue wins it all. If it's not this year, I don't know if it's ever going to happen for the Boilermakers. I like them to win it all this year. But that is just my preseason predictions, guys. That is my preseason Final Four. Alabama, BYU, Purdue, UConn. My preseason national champion is going to be the Purdue Boilermakers. Let me know your preseason champion down below. And if you guys want to let me know your Final Four down below, let me know that as well. Like I said, if you made it this far into the video, you obviously liked it. So hit that like button, comment down below, subscribe, because we're going to be doing a ton more of these throughout the season, especially during March Madness time. So you're going to want to subscribe, and make sure you guys tune in to the live stream tonight here on Monday to watch opening day college basketball. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.